In the popular imagination, the pharaohs of ancient Egypt stand as distant, godlike figures, regal, slender, and flawless, ruling a golden civilization with the wisdom and power supposedly bestowed by the gods themselves. Yet, as the sands of time yield their secrets to modern archaeology and historical scrutiny, a far more complex and human portrait of these enigmatic rulers comes to light. The myths that have long surrounded the pharaohs are gradually being dispelled, replaced by a narrative that reveals not only their grandeur, but also their vulnerabilities, eccentricities, and the very real challenges they faced as mortals with immense power. One of the most enduring myths portrays the pharaohs as idealized beings, slender, robust, and perfectly healthy, embodying the divine perfection of their gods. This image is immortalized in the statues, reliefs, and paintings that adorn temples and tombs from the Nile Delta to Aswan. The truth, however, is that these artistic representations often had little to do with reality. The ancient Egyptians believed in the concept of ma'at, order and harmony, which extended to their depictions of the pharaohs. Thus, rulers were often shown in their prime, exuding vitality and strength, regardless of their actual appearance. But when archaeologists began to unwrap the mummies of Egypt's kings and queens, a different story emerged. The lavish lifestyle of the pharaohs, characterized by feasting on bread, honey, wine, and beer, took a toll on their health. Examinations of royal remains have revealed that many pharaohs were overweight, suffered from poor dental hygiene, and bore the marks of chronic ailments such as diabetes and heart disease. Even the formidable Queen Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's most successful rulers, is believed to have been obese and balding, despite the statues and reliefs that depict her as a slender, youthful figure. The reality behind the regalia was far from the perfection presented in state-sponsored art. Another myth that has persisted through the centuries is that the pharaohs were exclusively male. The word pharaoh itself conjures images of powerful men like Ramesses the Great or Tutankhamun. Yet, history tells us of remarkable women who claimed Egypt's highest office. Hatshepsut, Sobekneferu, and Tuzret all ruled as pharaohs in their own right, navigating a patriarchal system to wield supreme power. To legitimize their rule, these women adopted the regalia of kingship, including the ceremonial false beard that symbolized their connection to Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Their reigns were sometimes met with resistance, and later, rulers often sought to erase their memory, but their achievements and resilience continue to inspire debate and admiration. Perhaps no myth has been more deeply ingrained in the collective consciousness than the image of slaves toiling under the harsh Egyptian sun, building the pyramids at the whip's end. This narrative, popularized by biblical tales and Hollywood epics, is now known to be historically inaccurate. Archaeological discoveries at Giza have unearthed the remains of worker villages, complete with bakeries, breweries, and medical facilities. Tombs of the laborers, buried with honor and provided with food for the afterlife, indicate that these individuals were respected craftsmen and seasonal workers, rather than enslaved people. The construction of the pyramids was a monumental national project, likely intended to demonstrate the power and unity of the Egyptian state at its zenith. The notion of royal bloodlines as pure and untouched by the outside world is another myth that has been overturned by modern science. To maintain the sanctity of the royal lineage, Egyptian pharaohs often married within their own families, sometimes taking their sisters or even daughters as wives. This practice, while intended to preserve dynastic legitimacy, had dire genetic consequences. The mummy of Tutankhamun, for example, bears evidence of congenital deformities and illnesses believed to result from generations of incestuous unions. Such revelations remind us that the pursuit of political stability sometimes came at a high personal cost for the rulers themselves. The pyramids of Egypt, rising from the desert like eternal sentinels, have long been synonymous with the burial practices of the pharaohs. Yet, not every king was interred within these colossal structures. The era of pyramid building largely ended with the Old Kingdom, as economic and political realities shifted. Subsequent dynasties favored more discreet burial sites, such as the rock-cut tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Here, away from prying eyes and tomb robbers, pharaohs like Tutankhamun and Ramesses II found their final resting places. These hidden tombs, richly decorated with scenes of the afterlife, reflect evolving attitudes toward death, divinity, and royal identity. Cleopatra VII, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, occupies a unique place in the popular imagination. Many envision her as the quintessential Egyptian queen, draped in linen and adorned with kohl. In truth, Cleopatra was of Macedonian Greek descent, a scion of the Ptolemaic dynasty, which had ruled Egypt since the time of Alexander the Great. While she embraced Egyptian culture and language, presenting herself as the reincarnation of Isis, Cleopatra's ancestry was firmly rooted in Greece. Her reign marks the final chapter in Egypt's long history of foreign rule, blending Greek and Egyptian traditions in a complex tapestry of politics and identity. The divine status of the pharaoh was a cornerstone of Egyptian religious and political ideology. Official texts and monuments proclaimed the king as the living embodiment of Horus, the son of Ra, and a mediator between gods and mortals. However, this divinity was as much a political construct as a matter of faith. Evidence suggests that the concept of the divine pharaoh was not universally accepted and may have been limited to ceremonial contexts. In less formal writings, and in the privacy of their own circles, Egyptians sometimes depicted their kings in a more human light, acknowledging their flaws, failures, and even mortality. The divinity of the pharaoh, then, was as much about maintaining the illusion of eternal order as it was about genuine religious belief. These revelations, pieced together from mummies, inscriptions, and the detritus of daily life, paint a picture of the ancient Egyptian court that is far more relatable and far more fascinating than the myths that have endured for millennia. The pharaohs were not flawless gods, but human beings grappling with the burdens and temptations of absolute power. Their reigns were marked by intrigue, ambition, innovation, and, at times, tragedy. Their families were not immune to the challenges of succession, jealousy, and the pressure to maintain appearances at all costs. The legacy of the pharaohs endures not because they were perfect, but because their stories are a testament to the enduring complexity of human nature. As we sift through the remains of their palaces and tombs, we are reminded that history is seldom as simple as the myths we inherit. By re-examining the lives of Egypt's ancient rulers, we not only gain a deeper understanding of their world, but also of our own fascination with power, immortality, and the stories we tell about the past. The truth about the pharaohs is not always as glamorous as the legends, but it is infinitely more compelling. A saga of ambition, excess, resilience, and the unending quest for eternity along the banks of the Nile.